Welcome to WANM Sports presents the Coach Willie Simmons Show. I'm your host, Calvin Sykes, and joining me is Family Football head coach Willie Simmons. Coach, thank you for joining us yet another week.
As always, it's a pleasure.
So many people see the great things that's happening at your program, but the hidden talents are the support staff. So what does role Jacob Henderson and Dakari have for the program, and how does their role help the overall success, for game day and stuff like that?
Well, you're absolutely right. The support staff, which is what they're called, they're the unsung heroes. And obviously, myself, the head coach, the assistant coaches, get a lot of the attention. But it's those guys working behind the scenes that really make things go. And Jacob Henderson is our video coordinator, and so he's instrumental in exchanging film between us and our opponents. He's responsible for breaking down the film so that we can watch it when it gets in, cutting it up, so that we have an accurate depiction of the teams that we're playing. He sends in plays for instant replay, not instant replay, but any type of play that we might feel is a bad call or poor call. He sends it into the league office. And so a lot of things dealing with our video, he's responsible for, highlight films and all of those things. So he has a very, very important job, one of the most important within the organization. Dakari Calhoun is our equipment manager. So obviously in the game of football, equipment is one of the most important components, making sure that guys' helmets fit. With this day and age of concussions, it's imperative that our guys' helmets fit perfectly. And so he does a great job of fitting those guys, ordering gear, equipment, shoulder pads, cleats, gloves, all the pads that we need, all of our apparel. So when we travel, make sure that we look first class, all the guys are dressed alike and all those things. And he's responsible for giving me my traditional cup of Gatorade after we score. And so, but again, very, very important job. And then again, Kyle Gaines. Kyle is our head athletic trainer. And so, of course, making sure that our guys are taken care of from a wellness perspective. Treatment, make sure that our guys are going to treatment every day, diagnosing injuries, setting up doctor's appointments with the Tallahassee Orthopedic Clinic, just all the things dealing with our players and their recovery. And then last but not least, Parker Brooks, our strength and conditioning coach.
Okay.
Make sure that our guys are the biggest, fastest, strongest guys in the MEAC. And obviously our conditioning level and our record has shown that he's one of the best, if not the best, out there doing it. So all four of those guys are truly instrumental. And then I can't forget my administrative assistant, Miss Keisha Washington, for making sure that she sets all of my appointments, even though I've missed a couple. But again, just does a great job of that. So all five of those individuals are very, very key and instrumental in our overall success as a football program.
So now one of the interesting things I think is kind of to fruition is coming here. You said you can win with Ryan Stanley. So what are some of the things that you saw when you first took the job that made him your starting quarterback?
Well, the first thing that jumped out was just his skill set. Ryan's a guy that has good measurables. He's 6'3", he's over 200 pounds. He's a more than adequate runner. Can run the ball extremely well, and can make all of the throws. He can throw the deep comeback routes, the deep out routes to the field, the go balls, post slants, all the routes that this playbook asks him to make. He can make them all. And then, of course, the last thing is his leadership. He has the ability to be a great leader. Ryan's a guy that all the players respect, have a tremendous amount of love and admiration for. They like being around him, which I think is key when you're trying to lead guys, and sometimes even a bit too much. And that's kind of where I had to tell Ryan sometimes you have to draw the line as to being liked versus being respected. And I think he's gotten to the point now where the players respect him a lot more than they like him. They really do like him. They like being around him, but I think they respect him even more. So all of those things being put together, and then him really just digesting himself and really engulfing himself in this playbook has turned him into easily the best quarterback in the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, but arguably one of the best at the FCS level.
Well, I think one of the things that kind of interests me is you mentioned that quarterback is the hardest position to play. So what makes that the hardest position to play?
Well, one, it comes with the most level of scrutiny. After the head coach and the play caller, which I'm both, so after that it goes right to the quarterback. So win, lose, or draw, he gets a lot more credit than he deserves. And then during losses, he gets a lot more blame than he deserves a lot of times. And so he's the only position, quarterback's the only position that's asked to know what everyone else is doing on the field.
Wow.
Receivers only have to know what their route is, maybe what the other receivers' routes are. A running back needs to know what his protection is, what run play we're running. The offensive line needs to know blocking schemes. But the quarterback's responsible for knowing it all. And if a receiver asks what the play is, he's not going to ask the running back. He's going to ask the quarterback.
Okay.
If a left tackle wants to know what the protection is, he's not going to ask the left guard. He's going to turn around and ask the quarterback. And so just having to know what everyone is doing and then perform at a high level because you're the most visible position because you touch the ball every single play is what makes that position the hardest to play in college football.
There's a quick question. There's a few college programs that use helmet stickers. You notice that the Rattler stickers are on the helmets this year. So what are some unique ways FAMU football players earn their helmet stickers?
Well, they earn them. We have a point system that Dakari and I go through after each game. So some are individual. So Ryan, for example, for every third touchdown pass, he gets a helmet sticker. For receivers, for every fifth catch, they get a helmet sticker.
Wow.
For running backs, every rushing touchdown. For offensive linemen, every a certain number of pancake blocks, sacks, tackles for loss, things of that nature. But then there's some unit stickers as well. So we have basically 8 metrics that we use on offense and defense each week. And if the offensive or defensive unit meets over half of those, then the entire unit gets a sticker.
Wow.
And so, you look at Ryan and Xavier and Marquise Bell. I mean, we're running out of space on their helmets for stickers. And so, but they really enjoy it. They look forward to me passing those things out on Sundays, and it really brings a level of, I guess, pride to each position because they want to fill those helmets with as many stickers as possible.
So last week we talked about recruiting. So I want to know, what is your recruiting style when it comes to talking to recruits and things of that nature?
It's very simple. Build a relationship. My job is to build a great relationship with the individual. Get to know them, get to know their family, get to know all the key decision makers in the process, and then give them a chance to really know me. And if we can build that open line of communication where I'm more of a resource to them. That's what I tell families all the time. I don't look at myself as a recruiter. When you think recruiter, you think salesman. I don't look at myself that way. I look at myself as someone who simply wants to be a resource to an individual because this is maybe their first time going through the recruiting process. And so I want to be able to give them all the information that they need. If a mother has a question about the process, she can call me. If the coach or the young individual has a question about anything going on, even if it's not pertaining to FAMU, they can call me. And I think once you build that relationship, they trust that you have their best interest at heart. And I think that's what helps mothers, fathers, decision makers feel comfortable turning their kids over to a coach or a program, because we love to say that the kids sign on for programs and you want them to do that, but many times it's because of the relationship that they have with the position coach.
So Quinn Ray was notified about his induction up for the upcoming season, about being in the Hall of Fame. So how big of an impact is to have him supporting your program on the sidelines every game, and then also there to just offer advice to players too?
It's huge. Anytime you can have one of your players inducted into the Hall of Fame, it's a great honor. It speaks to the level of success this program has had as a football team in general, and as individuals. And of course, Ryan just broke most of Quinn's passing records, and so for him to finally be recognized by the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference for his play on the field, it's truly a great honor to him. Now, I guess all we got to do at this point is get him inducted to the FAMU Hall of Fame.
So now I want to dive into what happened Saturday. So athletics hosted a telethon to, cut the deficiency that's been reported on. So how big of it is to have your support, in that efforts, as well as supporting your program and the other athletic programs too?
Well, it's a team effort. Fundraising for the athletic department is definitely a team effort. And of course, most people know that athletics is a self-sustaining auxiliary, that we have to raise the money that we can spend. We're not able to get assistance from the university, from the state, but that's not unique to Florida A&M. That's every school within the Florida State University system. And so it's all about the money that we can generate. That's through ticket sales, that's through concessions, and other things like that. I invest in the Champions packages, all of those things. But again, a huge part of that within any program is the amount of giving, because again, every athletic department just about nationally spends more money than they generate.
Wow.
Again, travel, scholarships, salaries, maintenance, all of those things, it costs money to run an athletics program, and we don't generate that much money in ticket sales, obviously. So we have to cover that balance with our giving, and that's alumni, that's stakeholders of the program, that's everyone involved, and so it has to be a collective, collaborative effort between everyone to figure out how we can generate the most funds coming into this program because we all want to see Florida A&M athletics be the best athletic program in the MEAC, one of the best in the country. In order for that to happen, we have to continue to give so that we can support our student athletes and put them in the best possible position to be successful.
In the SWAC, when you're coaching there, you have 4 weeks you have to be ready, then 4 weeks you kind of just take your time off. This week, Morgan State beat A&T and Delaware State beat Bethune. So in reference to that comment, is instances like these what you're referring to when you made that statement?
It is, and I didn't mean that you can take weeks off
Okay.
in the SWAC. Definitely you can't. You can't ever take a week off. But again, we knew that the SWAC was very top heavy as far as the teams that will be competing for a championship. During my time there, it was typically Alcorn State, which I spent 3 years there and 3 years at Prairie View, Alcorn State, Grambling, Southern, and then when I got to Prairie View, we were part of that conversation as well. And the other programs were kind of all rebuilding, and some of them have done a really great job since then. Alabama A&M's playing extremely well. Alabama State's playing well. Arkansas Pine Bluff's playing good football. But here in the MEAC, my first year in the conference, I noticed that on any given week, you're going to run up against a pretty strong team. We may be faster than some of the teams that we play. We may have more depth than some of the teams that we play. But Delaware State showed last week that they can play with anyone. Morgan State showed last week that they can play with anyone. And so that's what I meant when I said every week in the MEAC, you have to prepare to be your very best, especially here at FAMU because for whatever reason, we get everyone's best shot. We get everyone's A game. And maybe that wasn't the case when I was at Prairie View A&M or even at Alcorn in some instances. But here at FAMU, we get everyone's best shot. And because of that, we know that every week we have to prepare as if we're playing the Green Bay Packers.
It's time now for a break, and when we return, we'll get Coach Simmons' thoughts on the upcoming matchup against the Howard Bison. This has been the WANM presents the Coach Willie Simmons Show. This is the WANM Sports presents the Coach Willie Simmons Show. Coach Simmons is posting the hot seat. This Saturday coming up, FAMU hosts Howard Bison this senior day. So kind of what are your initial thoughts coming up with this team?
Well, my first thoughts, obviously, are that it's senior day.
Okay.
And we have a phenomenal group of seniors that we're going to see play their last game here in Brad Memorial Stadium. And it's going to be a special moment for those guys. Everyone remembers that last game, especially that last home game. And this has been arguably the greatest collection of seniors as far as their leadership that I've been around. And so definitely going to see some tremendous players leave this program here pretty soon. Ryan Stanley, got a chance to coach the all-time leading passer at the university. Elijah Richardson, our unquestioned leader of this team. I mean, a fiery guy that just, is another coach on the field. Terry Jefferson. I mean, what can you say about Terry Jefferson, a guy that's graduated twice already, working on a third degree, all MEAC performer. DeMontre Moore, again, the list goes on. Yahia Ali, a guy that, was fortunate enough to get another year, so he's actually going to do his second senior day. But again, just a great group of guys. Jock Penny, who's battled injuries. There's about 13 or 14 guys in that group that have meant so much to this program and have really been instrumental in bringing this program back to national prominence. And you think about the guys that came in 5 years ago: Ryan Stanley, Terry Jefferson, Cam Burton, Marcus Williams. Those guys were 1-10 that first year.
Exactly.
And so for them to be able to go from 1-10 to now 8-1. It's just a true testament to their character, who they are. So that's what I'm gonna take away the most from this game. But obviously, it's a huge contest. Great opportunity for this program to continue our climb nationally. And within Black college football. And like you just alluded to, what happened last week shows us that we can't look at Howard's record because we're going to get their best shot, and we have to be prepared for a 60-minute ball game.
Well, despite the record, one of the positives is Kyle Anthony became the all-time career reception leader at Howard. So what are some ways to look to slow him down?
Well, I mean, he's a big physical wideout, 6'3", over 200 pounds, great catch radius. And so, again, when you say slow him down, that's all you can hope to do. He hadn't been stopped all year. And so we have to definitely make sure we know where he is We have to make it tough for him to get open, which means we got to get our hands on him. We can't just let him run unimpeded down the field. Allow the quarterback to throw the ball on time. We have to try to break their rhythm. That all starts with pressure up front, getting consistent pressure on the quarterback, getting hits on the quarterback, making him have to move out of his spots, move his feet, maybe delay his throw for a second, and then allow our speed to catch up with Anthony. So, but he's a talented guy. The MEAC definitely has a slew of talented wide receivers, and he's definitely one of those top guys, and he'll be a handful for us this weekend.
Howard University announced Ron Prince being fired. So not really talking on the situation, but more from a coach's standpoint. How's a coach really lose a locker room?
I guess there'll be different ways.
Okay.
I think one thing to understand is that times are changing, and we have to adjust with the times. If you're a football fan, you've watched Junction Boys. You've seen the story or shows about Bear Bryant and the way that he coached. You've seen guys like Nick Saban and Dick Vermeil and Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick, and their fire and brimstone method of coaching that is very intense. It's very in your face. Sometimes saying words and things that aren't necessarily friendly in society.
Okay.
And but the new generation and the way things are, that method may not be the best today. And so you have to kind of curve the way that you coach these guys a little bit. And if you go in there with that fire and brimstone speech, with a lot of guys who didn't necessarily grow up with fathers in their lives or positive male figures in their lives, they maybe don't respond to that type of coaching very well. And if they don't respond to it, and if enough of them don't respond to it, then that's probably the quickest way to lose the locker room. But it all goes back to trust. If the guys trust you, if they trust and believe that you have their best interests at heart, you'll get their love and admiration. If they don't, you'll lose them. And then once you lose them, it's very tough to get them back.
So kind of how does this staff and locker room push through the adversity? Seeing that, you kind of probably been in situations like that here. So how does, coaches, that whole really program push through this adversity?
Well, it's something that we talked about from day one, and I talked to them about adversity, and we told them from the beginning that it's going to come. That's one thing I can always promise them. I made them two promises. One, I'm never going to lie to them. Two, we're going to face adversity. And the third one was we'll win when everyone buys in. So those were my three main points to them when I first took the job. But when we talk about adversity, we always told them, I don't know, I'm not psychic, so I can't tell them what form is going to come in. I can't tell them when it's going to come. I can't tell them how often it's going to come. But what I can promise them is that it's going to come, and it's how we respond to it that truly dictates who we are as individuals and who we'll ultimately be as a football team. And so, we've tried our best as a staff to put these guys in as many adverse situations as they possibly can to see how they respond to it. And we continue to preach that message of positive energy, of positive reinforcement. Just handle every situation the best way we can. Don't react negatively to the stimuli. And we control our emotion. We control how we respond to things. And so that's the message that we've tried to drive home as a staff. My assistants have done a great job of pushing that message forward. And now those seniors that I mentioned earlier, they're doing the same thing. We see adversity hit us. A lot of times it's the senior that says something first. It's Elijah Richardson that speaks out before me or Coach Street. It's Terry Jefferson. It's DeMontre Moore. It's Ryan Stanley. It's Marcus Williams. It's those guys that speak out. This weekend, as soon as, the game started, we saw the scores start popping up, with A&T losing, with Bethune losing. It wasn't me sending out a group message saying, hey, guys, you see what happens. It was Yahia Ali who sent out a message and said, hey, guys, we see what can happen. We got to be locked in and focused when we get back. And so that just shows the type of leadership that we have. And I think that's how you overcome adversity, when everyone collectively sets a mandate that we're going to respond positively to whatever comes our way.
When we return, we'll get to know the man behind the headphones. This has been the WANM Sports presents the Coach Willie Simmons Show. Welcome back. So now, Coach, you have an interesting coaching tree from your experiences. So I want to know what made you want to dive in and become a head coach?
Well, it's not necessarily what made me want to become a head coach. It was what made me want to coach in general.
Okay.
When I got to college, it was never something on my radar. I went to college at Clemson University as an engineering major. My uncle and aunt are both engineers. They both graduated from right here at Florida A&M. My mom, who's a first graduate in her family from Florida A&M of 6, she was great in math, became a math teacher in Gadsden County, and so I was always very strong in math and didn't really have an idea outside of football what I wanted to do. So I figured engineering would be a great career for me when my playing days are over. Once I got to college and kind of started hanging around the engineering students, I kind of saw their lack of social life, and that didn't really fit me. And so I got out of engineering and then went into communications, because I always admired the ESPN analysts, the sports broadcasters, and guys like that. They got to wear suits all the time. I always wanted to be in the profession where I wore suits every day, and now I'm a coach, so to show that doesn't happen. But once I got into communications, funny story, started doing some speeches, and of course, by the time the speech professor ripped me about my southern drawl, how fast I talk, having to enunciate, all those things, I figured that wasn't my career either. Going to be too hard for me to break this southern drawl. And so then I went into marketing. So again, the plan was to become a sports agent because at that point I knew that I wanted to do something around athletics and to be able to help, future athletes, because I saw a huge need, especially for African American athletes, to do the right things when they made it to that level. Money management, promoting themselves, just really setting themselves, financial literacy, setting themselves up to be successful when they hang the cleats up. And so that was the plan. And once I got done playing, I tried to kind of go that route. But during the transition, one of my good buddies here in town at Lincoln High School asked me if I'd be interested in coaching their quarterbacks. And because I didn't really have a plan of what to do, I jumped at the opportunity. And the moment I got there and started working with B.J. Daniels, who became an All-American and played at South Florida, I fell in love with it because of the response I got from the kids, how they gravitated to me, how I saw me impacting their lives in a positive manner. And that's when I knew I wanted to coach. And then obviously, whatever I was going to do career-wise, I always want to be the best at it.
Okay.
So naturally, when you become a coach, the natural progression is that you eventually become a head coach. And so when I've worked extremely hard, and I've tried to do the right things, and the good Lord has blessed me with a great opportunity to be a head coach at a tremendous institution. And I like to think so far I've done a fairly decent job.
So it's no secret about the upgrades needed for Bragg and Fieldhouse. Interested in Prairie View A&M, the university upgraded and completed the project in 2016. So from your experiences, what was the process like of funding and making adjustments, for season while the project was being going forward?
Well, Prairie View has a unique situation because, Texas is different from Florida in the sense where here in Florida, there's only one state university system, and we all fall under that system.
Okay.
And so every state institution, I think it's 13 of us, all fall under the same board of governors, the same rules and regulations. Where in Texas, there are multiple university systems. And so Texas A&M has their own university system that encompasses about 8 schools. The Texas university system has its own system. So you look at UT Arlington, UT San Antonio, all of those are in the Texas system. And I think Houston has their own system. So all of these different systems in the state of Texas, which means there are different rules for each one. Okay. And so the Texas A&M system allows state funding to go towards athletics. They allow capital projects from athletics. And the big part that really helped them get theirs off the ground was the fact that the students were allowed to raise their own tuition. And that was probably the thing that pushed them over the top. Over 30 years, I think the students have committed $30 million to the stadium, and not only the stadium but the rec center. If you go at on the Prairie View's campus, you see new construction all the time. But that's just because of the amount of influence that the state has and them putting those resources into the university as well as the athletics program. We don't have that luxury here in the state of Florida because here in the state, the university system says that the university is not allowed to fund or help the athletics department, that we're self-sufficient. We have to, again, generate our own revenue. And the students can't go in and tax themselves to help pay for a stadium like they did out in Texas. So, but it was a unique process. We played our first season there at a high school, a local high school, while they built the stadium. And it took about a year for them to complete it. But it's a great facility and really helps in recruiting, and hopefully it's something that we can get to here, because I think if you can put a venue like that here at here in Tallahassee at Florida A&M, the sky is truly the limit. I think we could be able to compete with anybody in America given a structure facility like the one we had at Prairie View A&M.
Well, that's interesting you say because that's a great segue. So what does Rattler Nation have to do to see something like that built here?
Well, again, I think the challenge for us is that it has to come from inside, internally, as far as our giving. And because, again, we can't get help from the state. We can't get help from the students, which I know FAMU, the student body, would do it in the New York Minute. They definitely, help out with whatever way they can, and they are helping in other ways with the nutrition, with the scoreboard for the baseball team, all the things that SGA has done for the athletics program over the years has been a tremendous help to the athletic department. But as far as a capital project like a stadium, that's definitely going to take some heads being put together, some definite plans, some long-term plans as to how to generate that type of money, because you're talking about building a stadium. I mean, it's in a small endeavor. And this is a multi-million-dollar endeavor. The stadium at Prairie View cost $60 million. Wow. And so you're talking about at least that to try to get a facility that we'll feel comfortable with, that we can compete with on a national level. So it's going to take some brilliant minds, which fortunately for us we have here at Florida A&M, and some decisions to be made as far as what plan we have long term here at Bragg Memorial Stadium, because again, that's a down the line project. When you're talking about building a stadium, that's not something that's going to happen overnight, and so it can be done. I feel confident that it will be done. In the meantime, I just continue to coach my butt off and try to win some football games.
Coach Simmons, I want to thank you for your time, especially on the school's day off. This has been a W&M Sports presents the Coach Willie Simmons Show.